Remember I said to the farmers, buy larger tractors and more land, and that's exactly what happened. They did well. But we do suffer. I'd like you to discuss that maybe for a second, Brooke.
Sure.
Very quickly, by the way.
Yes, sir.
But would you just talk about how Biden let us down? Biden, every single thing, every problem the farmer has is because Biden didn't do anything for 4 years. Go ahead.
There's no reason for it. This is absolute stupidity. This is a man-made crisis caused by Donald Trump, period.
John Bartman is a soybean farmer whose family has been working Illinois land since before the Civil War. This year, his crops, diligently planted, meticulously cared for, are losing their value.
This is a yield monitor. This allows me to see instantly what my yield is doing. So this is 4,134. So that's roughly $40,000 worth of soybeans that we have harvested. And a couple years ago, that was easily $60,000. So that's a major change. This is the economics. It's what we do in this country. We export food. And we can't do that right now.
Soybeans are the largest agricultural export from the U.S., valued at more than $24 billion last year, 52% of which was exported to China. But this year, soybean exports to China are down 51% compared with the same time period last year. The drop comes as China stopped buying soybeans from the U.S. and an escalating trade war. President Donald Trump insists farmers will win the trade war. Posting on Truth Social October 1st, "We've made so much money on tariffs that we are going to take a small portion of that money and help our farmers. I will never let our farmers down." John Bartman is skeptical.
Bailout's not going to do it. Bailout, unfortunately, we need the money.
Once you lose a customer like China, can you ever get them back?
I sincerely doubt it. Why would they?
You know, Brazil is now China's top exporter of soybeans, or they import soybeans. And our pork exports to China have dropped like 35% or something like this. Okay, and you talked about the importance of agriculture. In all honesty, these markets are never coming back. You're right. You know, they were one of our top customers. You talked about being in business. You don't kick out your top customer. So how do you what do you tell farmers in your district that, guys, these markets aren't coming back? And yeah, we can import or export a little something to Mozambique or someplace like that, but they're not going to make up what we've lost to China. So what do you tell the farmers who are losing their farms, or we have low prices because there's no market for them? What do you say to them, or what is the answer, or whatever?
That's a very good question. What I tell farmers is we don't know the outcome yet of the tariff negotiations with China. That is the big elephant in the room.
Now, I've never been as worried as I am now about whether or not my kids and grandkids will be able to carry on.
He said, "I love you, Mr. Trump. I need to see the fruit of your love."
5 of my customers have committed. That's how serious that this is.
And what it costs for us to farm is astronomical now.
I farm with paid-for equipment. All my tractors are 50 years old, and I can't hardly make this deal work. I think the tariffs are the ice cream on the cake of a perfect storm.
After a horrible year last year where most farmers in Arkansas Delta lost money, this year's going to be worse.
We made a decision to go out this year in the spring. So my son will not be the seventh generation on our farm.
We're going to lose 25 or 30% of the farmers in this country if they don't do something. It has to be done, and it's not just here. It's everywhere.
We went from 12 billion to zero, and then, as a farmer, we get up one morning and you give Argentina, which is our second biggest competition in the world. They're the largest exporters of soybean meal in the world. So I get up one morning, I turn the news on, and you give $20 billion of taxpayer money to my competition. And then the Chinese buy, I think the figure is 30 or 40 containers, ships, which is about 65,000 metric tons per ship, which is like 2.2 million bushels. So they buy 12 or 14 billion dollars worth of soybeans from the Argentinians after the tax holiday. And here's the caveat to it. They give $2.30 over the November board, while I'm getting 50 cents under the November board.
What we need long term is strong markets and competition for the products we're producing. We want to make a profit from the market. We need competition for our soybeans. We are bleeding economically. We're losing a lot of money. Our economist at the American Soybean Association says that we're going to lose $109 per acre on every acre that's produced in soybeans in this country this year. On 83.4 million acres, that is a lot of money being lost. And what we need is competition. We need a level playing field, and we get that by not having tariffs that are in place and the retaliatory tariffs that result. And we need to be able to compete fairly with the competitors from around the world. Right. Brazil is our largest competitor. And right now they're kicking our tail because they have about a 20% price advantage in the Chinese market. And we can see an example what happened here recently with the Argentina holiday that was taken on when they put the tax at the export tax, when they did the tax holiday and they had a level playing field. The Chinese came into the Argentina market and purchased immediately because the price was competitive once again. We would see the same thing happen with our soybeans if we had a level playing field and didn't have a 20% retaliatory tariff in place that the Chinese have levied.
A new report shows income for farmers across Iowa could drop drastically next year. The net income for Iowa farmers is expected to fall 24% compared to this year. So that's a total of $3 billion, according to the Rural and Farm Finance Policy Analysis Center at the University of Missouri.
I spoke with the researchers at the University of Missouri who worked on this projection. And what they said was the biggest single factor in this was the federal government. And that's two-pronged. One is with the trade deals that they are hammering out in the ongoing trade war. But then the other part of it is that financial assistance that hasn't been articulated for 2026. Farmers here have been anxious about the fact that there is not a farm bill that has passed, so they don't have the allocations that they had in previous years. Combining all of that with the factors that we've been discussing, with problems with increasing costs of operation, increased costs for fixing machinery, the trade wars, decreased amounts of purchasing from China in particular, even with the new trade agreement. All of that adds up to a substantial cut in income.
And I feel bad for the beef industry, because the beef industry, they buy about 6 billion bushels of corn from us every year. And that's worth $25 billion of economic activity that goes back to grain farmers like me. And those poor cow-calf producers are finally getting ahead after being in debt too. And Stephanie, the American people need to realize that only 16 cents of every dollar goes back to me, the farmer, and the rancher. And it's the packers who are making the money right now. And when I feel so bad for our seniors sitting at home saying, why are these farmers asking for a bailout? We're not asking for a bailout. Donald Trump did this to us. And unfortunately, we are hurting right now. We are the collateral damage to what's going on. And he had 8 years to plan this. Why did he put us in the crosshairs of this collateral damage?
How are your other farmers, for your friends, feeling? I know a lot of them are Trump supporters. Do they still feel good?
Everybody's pretty nervous. Everybody's pretty scared. There's some of the older guys that, farm out of their pocket. They're like, I'm not doing this again. I'm not giving back 30 years worth of work. Everybody's scared to death. I got friends that are bankers that, will tell you the bank examiner is already telling them, look, you're going to have to deal with these guys because their equipment's not going to be worth as much. Their land's not going to be worth as much. I mean, this is exactly like the movie from the 80s with Sam Shepard and Jessica Lange Country. That's what's going to go down. They're going to sell people out.
Our entire cost structure has gone here, but our revenue has done this. So this is where we find ourselves for the last 2-3 years, kind of, and it's quite challenging. I mean, it's a bloodbath, or becoming one.
And on top of all of that, these farmers are dealing with extremely high input costs. So the message comes at an important time. On top of that, last week, President Trump said he'd like to give the revenue from tariffs to farmers. We have not seen a concrete plan for that yet, but farmers like Chris Gould are waiting to find out.
A Trump administration bailout of farmers, and apparently it's going to be mostly these soybean producers. But this is in the works, and it could be around $10 to $14 billion in aid. Do you think that's enough? And does that address the underlying issue here?
Well, it certainly won't make farmers whole, right? It will help when it is a bandage on a bad wound, but it certainly doesn't fix the problem. It doesn't address the wound. But we do want to help farmers who are in this situation through no fault of their own. But there are long-term impacts that are very, very dangerous. We also know that when aid packages were rolled out 5 years ago, many farmers who were in need at that time didn't receive any of the aid package. And some of the largest multinational corporations in the world received the largest payments. And that doesn't make sense, and it only causes more divisions between our farming operations. Our small and medium-sized operations are in need of that assistance.
I believe they are still in conversation right now, the two teams. Obviously President Milei is a warrior for freedom. What he has been able to do in leading his country and how important that partnership is to America. I don't want to say too much and get out of my lane of soybeans and corn and sorghum and cotton and blueberries, but I will say that I absolutely trust the president, our team, Secretary Bessent, Jameson Greer, etc. This is a long game. We are not just putting America first, making America great and saving the country. We're also working to realign the world around peace and peace through strength, and having those partners out across the world are so important. And the idea that we will find these markets for our soybean farmers, we'll find the markets for our sorghum farmers, etc. But what the president and his leadership is just remarkable on all of this. So I am extremely confident. The president has been unequivocal in his support of the farmers. First of all, in term one, we worked on it so hard and opened up markets, but especially this term. But here's what everyone has to understand. The farm economy is in a very uncertain time. But that isn't because of the current trade negotiations, although certainly the China part is part of that. But we inherited a slew of issues. What the president's commitment is this, that we are moving into an era of rural prosperity, of a golden age for our farmers in rural America. The trade renegotiations and the trade realignment that Jameson and Scott and Howard have led with the president's leadership is unlike anything that's happened in the history of our country. And those that will benefit the most are the original Americans, our farmers and our ranchers. The president has committed, if we need a bridge, he has talked about that to get us from the Biden years to the new Trump era. That's what we're working on every day. We've got to get the government reopened so that we can move forward on that. And once we do, we'll be able to move out a significant program to help our farmers. Long term, we have to change this hamster wheel of government. We've got to ensure that the farmers have the market to sell, and it's a national security issue and onshoring a lot of the food as well. I want us to take a moment and realize I don't know that there's ever been a president in history, at least in modern history, that has spent so much time talking about our farmers, talking about soybeans. Yesterday we had a big meeting in the Roosevelt Room about our beef industry. I mean, it is just incredible how focused and just supportive of our farmers and ranchers this president is. They just want to sell their product. They don't want checks from the government. But until we get there, all these new trade deals, opening up the markets by the president, onshoring our food supply for health reasons, but national security reasons, we will get there. But until then, we will continue. We're going to be announcing a program as soon as the shutdown ends on what we're going to do in the short term for these row croppers, including our soybean farmers.
Incredible what tariff revenue is doing